bad movies. The world is full of them. From low-budget crap fests to downright unwatchable. And only two men are willing to watch them all. So climb in and take your seat. This is Short Bus Cinema.
Let's do it.
Been waiting for the bus early. Have mercy. Been waiting for the bus early. I got that brown paper bag and my drink on pay.
Welcome to the very first episode of Short Bus Cinema Podcast. I am your host, Johnny Krueg, with my awesome co-host, Rik Morgan.
Yeah, man. This is exciting. Glad we're finally getting to put something together.
This is going to be great.
Just sitting on the bus, man.
Oh, man. This podcast, we're going to be talking about lesser tier movies. A lot of the ones that are notoriously bad or ones that are just considered to be just cult schlock fests. And that's the one thing I was telling Rik before we started. We watch the movies you love to hate. Or we love to watch the movies I don't even know. But this is going to be a fun little venture. And as far as we know, the show could go on for a very long time based on the amount of movies alone that we found. There
is no shortage of bad movies. We just go ahead.
Oh, no.
When we were talking about where to even start with a show like this. So, yeah, man, this is going to be a lot of fun. Johnny's got the shows that he's had in the past, and I've got my show going on as well. But these movies don't really fit either one of those shows, so it's going to be fun. We both love bad movies. So for us to get together and start going through this is just going to be a blast, man.
And there will be some crossover and stuff in there. I'm sure there'll be movies that could fit on the other shows, except for, they're just notoriously kind of crap fests.
Right.
And like you said, I really love watching these movies. I love a good, bad movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's nothing like it. Because you even ask yourself when you're watching it, why am I watching this again? So, yeah,
well, some of them just become ingrained in that culture. I mean, you get so many movies that come out and they're so panned by critics, but then 5-10 years down the road, you have movies like The Room, where Tommy Wiseau's filling out auditoriums full of people that are cheering him on, and he thinks he's a rock star.
I guess it's because these movies, even though they're bad, they have heart to them, and people enjoy it, even through the bad acting and the bad sets, the bad audio. There's a charm to them, and it's a release, man. It's to take your mind off of everyday stuff.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, especially when they're as great as the movie we're talking about today. We're going to have several little sections for the show. Little, kind of like if you listen to the Ming Power Hour or KruegerNation in the past. Just little fun segments and stuff that go along with the movies and just kind of us having fun with it.
Sure. Yeah, we still don't know what those really are just yet, but we'll figure it out as we go along.
What's the first episode, too? I mean, we'll fine-tune it.
Absolutely.
We're going to go ahead and play a promo first before we get into the movies of some of the podcasts that we like. So stay tuned.
Get out of the way!
Hi, I'm Joe Parker, and I'd like to invite you to check out my show, The Hybrid Moments Podcast. I'm just an average guy with a slew of interests, and the podcast is an extension of that. The theme of the show varies episode by episode, but some of the topics I cover include horror, music, comics, just about anything but politics. So if you like a little variety in your life, come on by and check out the show. You can find me on iTunes or Stitcher, or check out the website, thehybridmomentspodcast.com. You can also join the group on Facebook at The Hybrid Moments Podcast in the group section. Feel free to mingle, leave feedback, or suggestions for future shows. That's The Hybrid Moments Podcast with Joe Parker. Tune in and see what I cover next.
All right, we are back with Samurai Cop from 1991. The whole time I watched this movie, Rik, I honestly, this movie must have been filmed in the 80s, right?
Yeah, man, it had to been, and just took them too long to release it. And while we talk about this, you'll see that obviously they went back and did a lot of pickup shots. I don't know if they ran out of money when they were making it, what the deal is with this movie, but there is not another movie like Samurai Cop, but it's got to be 80s just from the elements of things that are in it.
Oh, and I love the continuity between shots of his real hair and the fake hair. Oh, my God. Oh, we'll definitely get into that, I'm sure, as we go along.
Oh, yeah.
But this movie is directed by Amir Shervan, who actually wrote it as well. And from what I can tell, he did this movie, Hollywood Cop, and Young Rebels. So I honestly don't know the other two.
We'll have to dig those up.
I'm sure they're gold. If this is any indication, they have to be gold. But this movie stars, I have to put that in quotation marks, Matthew Caritas as Joe Marshall, the typical name of a samurai cop. As soon as they're like, he's a samurai cop, his name's Joe Marshall. I'm like, Joe Marshall? That is the whitest sounding name I've ever heard in my life. But it fits this guy.
Oh yeah, he's white.
And his partner in this movie, who in my opinion is the best part of the entire movie, is an actor named Mark Fraser. And I looked him up. He hasn't done a lot of work. I think he's done about 8 things, and this and Samurai Cop 2 are probably his biggest breakouts. And it stars the great late Robert Zadar, who's been in tons of these kind of movies.
Oh yeah,
like Zadar, he is a staple in just the B schlock movies.
Yep.
So I really enjoy Samurai Cop. I think this movie is, like you said, it's so unique. I hadn't seen it before. It was about a year ago I saw it for the first time. I mean, I was pretty late to this one, and when I finally saw it, I was like, this is absolutely insane. The way it starts off, 2 rival gangs that you really don't know what's going on between the two, but they're trying to form an alliance, and it's one of those, if they don't form the alliance, then the other gang's just going to kill them. So they have a massive alley fight that's pretty much some kicking, but a lot of shooting.
Well, going back to when this thing kicks off, though, man, and I've got it in my notes here. It just says Samurai Cop could be the worst opening credits and opening theme song of any movie ever. Because this music, it sounds like a really bad Atari game. It kind of sounds like this.
Oh.
I mean, that's pretty bad, man.
It reminds me of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, it kind of does, yeah. Or one of the Contra games or something.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing is, later when we get to some of our little segments about the movie, that's one thing I mentioned was the 64-bit sounding music. It just threw me for a loop. I'm like, who the hell composed this? Like some Japanese video game guy?
Oh, man. And the credits are just plain white letters on a black background. So something that Argento does, and it's an artistic statement, this guy does it, and you're just going, whoa.
It's by complete accident.
It's all he could afford.
A lot of this movie, though, a lot of the stuff is, we were talking about pickup shots and stuff, and I don't know how many pickup shots were done between scenes, because I know you could tell, obviously, whenever the main actor has a hair change, but there were some scenes, especially at the beginning here, when there's basically the samurai cop and his partner Frank, and they're I don't want to call her a slut, but they're kind of promiscuous female coworker / was she flying the helicopter? I think she was, right?
Flying the helicopter, yeah.
Okay, because later in the movie they act like she's a nobody, like deputy or something, but they're following this blue van that looks like it was painted by a preschool class. I mean, the only thing it was lacking was actual paint handprints on the side of it.
To me, it looked like it had Missile Command painted on the side. And little laser lights coming down, and it's a big cloud, and it's like powder blue, and I was like, wow.
Well, that's the thing I loved, though, is whenever Frank and the samurai cop, who, like we said later, his name's Joe Marshall, because I just refer to him as samurai cop. I forget his real name because it's much lamer to just say Joe Marshall. He sounds like a principal. But they're about to get in the car to go on this high-speed chase, and they're talking to each other, and they point across the way to look at something else, and it looks like it's in a completely different town, not even in the same area.
Exactly. And I've even got it to where they got the helicopter up in the air, and it's following the van and you can see the van across from the car, not even 20 yards away. And they're like, do you see it? Can you see the van? I'm like, dude, it's right there. Yeah, she can see it, and you can too if you turn your head to the left.
Did you notice, though, there's a part where they kind of slow down during this chase? They're kind of creeping a little bit. I don't know, it's like the chase winds down a little bit, and then it amps up again. But when it dies down for that, like, few seconds, their back tire's flat. In the Samurai Cop car.
Oh, yeah, man.
It's like completely flat.
A drinking game you guys can play when you're watching this is just watch how many times the hubcaps change wheels. Because there's always one missing, but it always changes which wheel it's missing off of. Usually things like that don't stand out, but it stands out on this car.
No, this movie in general, like, you notice every little thing.
Yeah, man, like you said, the wig when he comes out with the wig on and tries to put that hat on, and it won't even fit on his head because the wig is so big. It's just the funniest looking thing ever.
It is. It's almost bouffant or something. It looks like a country singer's hair from the 70s. But I love this car chase because it feels like it goes on forever.
It does.
They're not even meeting these guys at the dock. They're just watching them until they do like a trade-off at the dock.
Yeah.
And half the guys that are trading off the briefcases, which the briefcases look like something that somebody literally picked out of the dumpster. They were so beat up and stuff. Like, not something like drug dealers and stuff would actually deal in. But it's like half the band from like Duran Duran or another new wave band there at the dock to do the trade-off.
Yeah, I was about to say it's like the most casual looking drug dealers I've ever seen.
They really did look like they got off the set for a new wave music video. But so they get back in the van and they drive off, and that's when I think that's when they're waiting for him, and I noticed the flat tire.
Oh.
And then this huge car chase starts, and it turns into a gunfight. This guy opens the back door of the van and he's shooting, and it looks like Samurai Cop is dodging bees to get away from bullets.
Yeah, and the whole time
he's not really moving that much. He just looks like he's just doing these tiny little movements.
And that's what I love about it, because you're hearing just a hail of bullets coming at this car that's behind him. They're shooting at Samurai Cop and his partner, and there's no windshield busted out. There's no damage to the car, and it's just like either this guy's a really, really bad shot, or they just said, we can't afford to blow up the car that's already a piece of crap. So, but what I love is during that whole time, like you said, when he's dodging the bees, you hear this.
Shoot him!
I was shoot
him!
Shoot him!
You got it. Yeah, I got the best.
This is where they run him over too.
Oh yes, that's where the dude falls out of the back of the van and they run over him. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, they have the most plain reaction to just like squishing a human being on the road. The way they play their characters in this movie, for the most part, are supposed to be straight played. And man, they're so hammy every time they're on screen. The thing I like though, I'm glad you got an audio clip, because I was thinking if you took a drink every time they said shoot in that scene, you would be floored.
And the scenes where it's where they're trying to crank up the action, you can tell that they overcranked the camera to speed up the film. And so I mean, it's almost like you can hear Benny Hill music in the background.
So basically, the van, not for any really good reason, I guess the driver gets shot in the throat, but he crashes into this pretty decent sized rock, but nothing that's too bad, and the van just explodes like something out of a Michael Bay movie. Yeah. And this guy gets out of the van, and you could just see that he's drenched in the fire retardant stuff.
Right.
So he basically runs over, and I think they may have done the screaming in ADR, because it looked like he was just pretty calm, especially when they have him on the ground and maybe we should do something. So they get blankets, and while he's on the ground, you can see him kind of looking around for people to put him out.
It's like, hurry up, guys! I'm burning up here. And
that's why you don't trust actors to do that, to put you out.
And I love it when they're putting the guy out, and Peggy's in the helicopter above him, and she's talking into her headset, and she goes, "Good job, guys." But the thing is they act like they can hear her, but neither one of them have a radio, and they respond back to her, and there's no radio. There's no way they can hear what she's saying.
What does he do there too? Because when she says, "Good job, guys,"
he points at her and goes, "I'll see you back at your place."
Yeah.
And she responds, "Okay, my place it is." And I'm like, wow.
Oh Oh man, this movie. One thing, there's, I don't know, man. I think his name is Fujiyama. He's like the main crime boss. He sends his main henchman, who has a name kind of like Fujiyama. It's another like very Japanese sounding name, but it's Robert Zadar. So you're wondering how he got that name. And so he sends Tawny Kitanen and the beardy jaw guy to go cut off the burn victim's head. She did look like her a little bit.
I was about to say, she probably had the coolest role in the movie because all she had to do was stand there and go, "Here comes the boss." I mean, that's her job. Every time the boss comes down, "Here comes the boss. The boss is coming." That's all she does, is tell everybody when the boss is coming.
But also, I mean, that whole scene when they're in that hospital room and Robert Zadar is cutting the head like a cheese loaf with a sword. Like, it's so fast and simple. And when they pick up the head, it looks like it weighs as much as an apple.
Right. It is probably just a styrofoam, mannequin head or something. So, but what I love about it is the main bad guy looks like me when I was a sophomore in high school. With the hair.
You look like Robert Zadar? Or?
No, I look like the Japanese guy, the main bad guy.
Oh, Fujiyama.
And, man, his acting, come on.
His line delivery was so bad.
I got this one here.
So they call him Samurai, huh? Yes. His real name is Joe Marshall. They call him Samurai. He speaks fluent Japanese. He got his martial arts training from the masters in Japan. He was brought over here from the police force in San Diego to fight us.
To fight us? To fight me? To fight us? Operation. To kill you and my other men. To put handcuffs on me and put me in the gas chamber.
What? At the end there, he almost sounds like he hits a little Hispanic.
If he's a samurai, what the hell are you?
I'll get to know him. And then we'll see who the real samurai is.
So you know where our man is?
Yes, boss. I know the hospital and the room. And he's burned bad.
Real bad.
Real bad. He won't be able to talk.
I want him dead. I want his head
couldn't
cut
see
off
either.
right here. I want his head on this piano. So that every man in my organization understands once more that no katana gets captured alive or talks.
I want his head on this piano.
Oh, man.
Joe Marshall, he can speak fluent Japanese. But you got this line right after it.
So anyway, you get on the phone and you tell me that these, what's his name, Omaha, Yamaha, whatever his name is, is after me. So I figured...
Fluent Japanese.
Well, why would they even mention the fluent Japanese if they knew they were never going to use it ever in the movie?
I don't know.
It's like, he knows fluent Japanese. I also like that, though, when he says the line gas chamber, because he almost hits one of those, like, San Diego Mexican accents. He's like, don't see me in the gas chamber.
Gas chamber.
Oh, it's great. You know, the one thing I really like is whenever Tawny Kitanen and Beardy Jaw, they go into there to cut the guy's head off, the cop on guard tells them to call security. Why in the living hell would a cop tell you to call security?
You're the cop. You're the one that's watching the room.
Well, and I guess in his defense, I mean, he was so shocked because he was sitting there flirting with the nurse at the end of the hall. Oh, it's funny, they give him one order. They tell 5 guys, they're like 4 or 5 guys, we need you to watch every angle of this room. And then they tell him, all you need to do is guard this door. And as soon as they walk off, he goes down the hall.
And I love the fact you just said it a while ago when Tawny Kitanen and Bearded Man goes in there, and the cart that she's pushing is knee high. It's a little bitty cart. So Rob Zadar climbs out of this thing, and I swear this thing is only knee high. There's no way he can physically fit into that cart, man. There's just no way.
Also, did you notice though also that when she's pushing it down the hall, it has like a massive trash can in the middle of it?
Right.
So you want me to assume this like 6'5" guy not only was in this little cart, but he was in that trash can?
Right.
It's like Oscar the Grouch and that stuff.
I mean, when you see him bow down like he's going to get into it, it just cuts away because they knew right then, oh, he's not going to fit in that. And I love the fact that when they get outside, you know your gang is serious when your getaway car is a Chevy Cavalier convertible.
And then he's just hanging out the back of it as she's driving off. I do think I would appreciate this movie more if when he was getting out of that little laundry bin, if it was Billy Barty in that role.
The pearl is in the river. And I love the fact that the redheaded girls even got time to like adjust the steering wheel because they're in such a hurry to get away. When she gets in the car, she's like, no, that's not right. Up a little higher. There we go. That's good. That's good. Now I'll start backing up. And I'm like, she was just yelling at him going, come on, we got to go.
Well, how many asses does Robert Zadar kick on his way out of the hospital? And meanwhile, and he and her are both running away. And as soon as they're going for the car, you have like two other guys stop him and ask for ID. Did you not see the trail of bodies he left behind?
It's just, they're everywhere, man. And I'm surprised they're not running over those when they're leaving in the Chevy Cavalier.
Oh man, the next scene I absolutely love, and I don't think this character was in the movie enough, was the unstable police captain. Who he cusses with, as far as acting and art goes, he cusses with an art.
I've got a sample.
Oh, I gotta hear it.
Captain, what did I do wrong? Everything you did was wrong. You're the one that talked me into bringing this moron from San Diego to fight the Japanese Katana gang. You know what the results are? A man in our custody lost his head. An officer lost his hand. And there are 3 police officers in the hospital right now. God damn you guys. All you've done is cost me bloodshed and mayhem. And me misery, my future. This man has been here 1 week and I almost lost my job. If he's here 1 more week, I might well end up in jail and die of a heart attack, and I don't want that.
Hey, I've been here 1 week.
And just how long will it take you to bring them to their knees? 1 week? 1 month? Next year? At what cost and how many lives?
With all due respect, sir, now I can get these guys. All I'm asking for is more time.
But I don't have the time, and I don't have the patience. And I don't have much more credit in this department to have bodies laying around me.
Fine, you don't want me here anymore? All you gotta do is ship me back to my place in San Diego.
You bet your ass I will. You're on your way to San Diego, and I'll write the order.
So, he's possibly the best actor in the movie.
Oh, man. I do appreciate how he says, I will have a heart attack, and I don't like that. Not many people do, Captain. Oh, man, there's several scenes later where he like really lays into some people, where he'll be talking to one person, and he'll be almost in a decent mood, and then the next person walks in, and he just lights him up.
Yeah.
And the way he does it, too, is just like, it's almost like he goes from Jim Neighbors to Arlie Ermey. It's fun. That's the thing is this movie. I mean, no matter how much you can find wrong with it, this movie, I come away every time I watch it with a giant smile on my face.
Right. They do nothing right. They fail at everything in this movie, but it's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, it's basically. I mean, you could put. I mean, it's in that group of movies. You know, your Troll 2s and your Manos and all those movies. The movies that you watch and you're like, this is like they didn't even try.
Right. Well, the next scene is when they go to the restaurant when the Katana gang is there, and they walk in, and the waitress goes to see Samurai Joe, and the waitress looks right at the camera. You're like, you can't even do an on-screen just a a cameo without ruining it.
You know, there actually are a couple of characters in that scene at the table that they do like almost a break the fourth wall, look into the camera.
Oh, yeah.
And even Robert Zadar does one at one point. Even though I'm sure his was probably more intentional, but I love it because he goes in there to threaten Fujiyama, and Robert Zadar stands up like they're going to throw down in the middle of this restaurant.
Oh yeah, there's the Americana speech.
Now I'm telling these son of a bitches that we respect the Japanese of this country who are honest businessmen. And yeah, this is the land of opportunity for legitimate business, not for death merchants who distribute drugs to our children through schools and on the streets.
You tell them, Joe.
Now I'm telling these that if they continue killing our
hit that sharp
to make their precious millions that they deposit in their secret Swiss bank accounts. Counselor, before your lawsuit even gets off the court clerk's desk, I'll have their stinking bodies in garbage bags and ship them back to Japan for fertilizer. Got it?
Oh, I love it because it seems like there are so many times where they're trying to do like a really badass sounding quip or something, or like a one-liner, and it just is like, what are you even talking about?
Right.
Well, have their stinking bodies in garbage bags used for fertilizer. Something has to be said about that flamboyant waiter. He needed his own spin-off film.
This guy.
Who's that blonde girl?
Oh, her name is Jennifer. She's the boss.
The boss? You mean she owns this place?
Her mother owns the place.
Where's her father?
Bang!
Killed? Who shot him?
He!
Who?
Him!
Who's him?
Himself!
Oh, he committed suicide.
Yes!
Laugh.
It's like Tigger.
He is straight out of a freaking Merry Melodies cartoon.
It's nuts, man. I mean, and it just comes out of nowhere. There's no rhyme or reason to have this in this part of the movie.
No, I would like to see him in his own spin-off. Follow that guy around all day.
He's hilarious, man. And then you got
man.
What's up with that lion head that's in that woman's office, man? It's like a crocheted lion head. It's the weirdest looking thing I've ever seen in my life.
It looked like a prop out of like a kindergarten version of Lion Witch in the Wardrobe.
It's really weird, man. And you can't even watch what's going on with the interaction of the characters because that lion head's sitting there. You're like, did somebody make that thing? Did they give it away? Was it from Goodwill? I can't figure this thing out.
Oh, I forgot all about that till you mentioned it. But yeah, because it looks like the mane looks like yarn.
It's just like some kind of kid's art craft thing that they oh, that's sweet. Our nephew made that. We'll stick it on the wall for this scene.
Well, that's good though, because I mean the nephew also painted the van earlier, so they had him doing some overtime on the set direction the art direction since they didn't really have money. I love that they go outside, like they go outside to leave, and automatically Robert Zadar and these henchmen who attack one at a time, they go out there and they have this basically like a parking lot brawl. And so the samurai cop and his partner, was it Frank? They're out there beating the hell out of Jeff Lynne from ELO, Kirk Cameron. They chop off a dude's arm. Jaws pulls a grenade out of his pants and blows up the whole area. It's a lot of death. I mean, for nobody to even come out and notice.
Yeah, it's a well-executed bad action scene.
Oh man.
Yeah, the dude getting his arm cut off's hilarious.
Oh, especially when he's laying on the ground and he's like, you could just see his whole arm laying next to him.
I mean, it'd been
inside his shirt.
If he just picked it up and started hitting people with it, it'd only make it better. I mean, it's the only thing that could have made it any better.
Oh, as soon as they went out there, I thought immediately, I was like, I didn't know Jeff Lynne was in this movie. And then the second guy that runs up looked just like Kirk Cameron.
Ramble, lamma, 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 rock and roll is king.
It's a living thing, but not in this movie because he died pretty fast. It's a living thing. Oh man, there's a line later, maybe right after this. I think it's as soon as I don't remember even who says it. I think it's Samurai Cop. I think it's Joe that says it. But he mentions, oh, that's what he's talking to the girl in her office, and he tells her. He goes back later that day and he tells her that Fujiyama's the #1 wanted criminal. And I'm like, if that's a known thing by the police department and you guys know where he is at all times, why won't you pick him up?
Right. This is not the time of Capone where you couldn't get anything on them, and so you just let them do their thing. I mean, if you know this guy's a wanted man, go get him.
So right after this though, they go to they get information about that other like rival guy, the bald guy, the Asian dude with the big goatee.
Okamura, yeah.
Okamura, that's his name. And I love when it's not really a stakeout as much as it's a bunch of bumbling cops hanging around while Samurai Cop and Frank go inside. But meanwhile, the black guy says, man, the chief's gonna burn my ass, and he's like, it's already black. And then he says something about, no, he'll also circumcise or cut my dick off or something like that. And the female cop's like, oh, she's basically saying things like, well, you better come over here first so we can get some good use out of it. And as soon as they walk off to go into bust this dude or whatever, she turns over to this like not even middle age. He's probably like in his 50s or
older
60s.
Dude.
Yeah. And she's like, hey, wanna go? And he tells her, he's like, no, just like in the most disgusted.
And this is Peggy. This is the helicopter chick. And so I mean, she's getting around, man.
Oh yeah.
And I love the fact that there's another shot where the bad guys are getting together, and you get that cool shot where they put the camera under the glass table and they shoot up through the glass table where you get this cool creative scene, I guess. But I love the guy that's standing over in the corner because he looks just like Kumo D. He's just standing there for no reason. It's like, where did this guy come from? Is he part of the group? Because he's definitely not Japanese. It's just, I don't know. It's the weirdest thing, man. Yeah.
Well, it makes you wonder where they're getting where they're getting their henchmen and stuff from.
It's crazy. And then you get the other guy. Remember they go to that cop's house? Well, we get to Okamura.
Was it Nakamura?
Okamura.
Oh yeah, he's the one that they basically walk in on him. He's about to get down with this woman, and
which is disgusting.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's a pretty good shot of them just like focusing on his crotch and her butt, and it's there's a few of those in this movie though. Trust me. There's several scenes where you're like, they could have not lingered on that shot that long.
Yeah, just fast forward through that.
But I love how Frank and Joe go to this guy's sliding glass door, because they are so visible to any kind of it's daylight, it's bright, and they're just standing there basically watching this guy, about to get it on with this woman. And of course, as soon as they get noticed, they didn't think about, maybe testing the lock, because they have trouble opening that glass door. He sits there and struggles like 2 or 3 times, and I think eventually they just break it.
And I love when Okamura gets up and he takes off and he grabs the suitcase and he runs outside. So he's carrying the suitcase and he stops to open the suitcase to get a gun out of it. I'm like, is that why you're carrying the suitcase? Because they had the gun in it? Or there's no reason for him to have this suitcase. Even when they fight, there's no reason for the suitcase.
Oh, that fight's pretty great too.
Oh yeah.
Basically, Okamura dies, which that's one of the things that comes up later, is the fact that Samurai Cop's not really effective at bringing people in.
No. There's nobody to bring in. They all die.
I didn't really mention it earlier, but there's a whole scene coming up where Joe and the owner of the restaurant, he forces his way into her Sunday afternoon.
Oh yeah, where do you go pick up chicks? At church, of course.
And then he tells her he was leading the sermon. She's like, I didn't see you. He said, I was leading the sermon.
He's a smooth
That's
guy.
a good pickup line, I guess.
Oh, yeah. He's smooth.
Well, I love this, though, because they go back to his place. He tells her he's taking her to the precinct, and then it didn't dawn on her until they're actually in his living room that they're not at the precinct.
Wait a minute. You didn't take me in.
It's great because they have this, early to mid-afternoon little, wine dinner thing going on, and then they go for a pretty awkward swim and walk on the beach, because, I'm not gonna lie to you, he's wearing the same swimsuit bottoms as her.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of focus on ass in these scenes.
Yeah, yes, there is. It's, again, that's, and he's a built-up dude, but come on, man. It's like, you could have cut a lot of this out because it really does not help your movie at all. Maybe he tried.
The only thing it did, well, I would say that's the only thing it did, was what came next in the movie was the fact that, that Fujiyama and Jaws, they basically are going to go take out the people closest to him to find him. And the first person they go to is a cop who I don't remember seeing earlier in this movie.
Right.
The one who was there with his wife and he's doing his little workout.
Well,
do you remember him?
I think that's the guy that Peggy was hitting on outside of Okamura's place earlier. She's like, hey, let's go behind the bushes over there. And he's like, no. I think it was that guy. And
so they established him for a good 5 seconds earlier in the movie. And then they bring him back as a character who knows Samurai Cop.
Right. Yeah. So the henchmen go in there and they, gonna kill his wife and kill him if he doesn't give them the information they're looking for. So he starts making up a bunch of crap. But even though they end up killing his wife and killing him, I love the henchman. My favorite person in the whole movie is the one henchman that all he does is rubs the barrel of his gun. He doesn't pay attention to anything else that's going on. He's just loving that gun, man. Never uses it. He's got this love affair with this pistol. I swear.
I don't think I noticed him, actually.
Oh, you gotta watch that again, man, because it is the weirdest. It's like, I don't know what to do. Hey, man, just rub the barrel of your gun, man. And he looks like, yeah, man, ooh, yeah, it feels good. It's just the weirdest thing.
Well, the further you get into this movie, the henchmen become just all. I mean, they're already all over the place as far as looks and stuff goes. But the further you get into this movie, man, I mean, it looks like half of Backman Turner Overdrive's henching for him, and then you have just random dudes from like Belle Biv DeVoe in there, and
right.
It's like there were so many random people.
Yeah, it's the worst bunch of henchmen ever, man. They're not good at what they do at all. We established that earlier with them trying to shoot a car from the back of a van that's only, I don't know, 20 feet away, and they can't even hit the windshield or anything. So that's what you're dealing with, man. They might as well be stormtroopers. They're that bad as shots.
Well, next you get them going to Frank's house, and this scene. This is a great scene. This is a fan. I guess Frank's getting out of the shower, so he has nothing on but a towel or something. And it's just they only sent 2 henchmen to his place, which is funny because later they send Robert Z'Dar and like 5 other guys to the girl. But the guy who's been with Samurai Cop killing people this whole time,
right?
They only send two little weasels.
Right, and one of them is the guy that's in love with his gun. That's the one guy, and then you get the other.
Is he
guy,
the one that's standing off by the door?
Yeah, and then you get the other guy that's got a knife on Frank, and you hear these lines.
Come on, talk to me. What do you want?
I can kill you now, or I can relieve you of this gift. This black gift. In a split second, you won't enjoy yourself the rest of your life.
You will never in another movie, as long as you live, hear somebody threatening to cut off a black man's gift as he's like, they're basically all looking down at his crotch. He's like, this gift, this black gift. He like puts emphasis on black, the black gift.
Right.
Who wrote the damn lines in this movie?
Oh man,
I wonder if they ad-libbed them.
They might as well have.
Well, he takes care of these guys pretty easily. I mean, they're pretty harmless, really. Once he gets a little,
Frank's a bad dude.
Broom on him, and that's why I'm excited to see the sequel because Frank's back. And there are so many scenes of this movie where there will be a whole conversation going on between Samurai Cop and a nurse, or Samurai Cop and another officer, and Frank's just sitting there. They'll just cut to his face, and he's making like these almost like he's trying to entertain kids at a birthday party kind of face or something.
Yeah, he's just making like buckwheat surprise faces, like ooh.
That's what it is. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. So this part, to me, this next part was, I think she got it the worst of everybody. They go see the female cop, and again, it's Robert Z'Dar, and I want to say 4 or 5 other guys.
There's a bunch of them.
For some reason, she's just got a big skillet full of oil going, full blast on her stove.
Yeah.
And so they go in there, and they're interrogating her, and they lean her back and start to pour it on her. I guess, is it her stomach?
She's gonna make some onion rings, and just things went wrong.
Oh yeah. Well, and the thing is too, I mean, I don't know, it just seemed like a lot of overkill to take her down.
Yeah,
it seemed like Z'Dar's gone after Frank.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you got 2 guys at one place, 3 guys in another place, and they send just a whole militia to take this girl out, and she's got a cooking iron. That's all she's got. Just, I don't know, weird.
Do you think she died? They never come back to that. I assume she died from the burns. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see how she would have, but who knows? This other dude was burnt bad, real bad.
Well, I like that when they say when they go into the hospital to see that dude who was burned real bad. Don't they? When you play that clip, he says something to the effect of, "He won't even be able to hear us." And I'm thinking, he can't see you either. His whole face is bandaged like the mummy.
Y'all got him wrapped so tight like a burrito, he can't do anything.
But this pretty much Frank eventually, through all of the water aerobics and stuff that Joe's doing with his girlfriend, he finally manages to get through. Or Frank manages to get through to Joe and tell him you need to get out of there. But of course, at that point, I mean, they're already there.
Yeah, they all show up, and then out there by the pool, I've got where Samurai Joe kills the guy. He looks like the guitar player from Loverboy, and he falls in the pool.
And it pans back to him, and there's no blood in the pool or anything. It's just the guy floating there.
And then from that point, the captain just gives him the go-ahead to go cause a bloodbath, man. Go take care of it.
Oh, I love that scene. He tells me, and he tells the guy earlier in the movie, he's like, F you, I'll see you in hell. And then when he tells them later, he's like, he gives them the go ahead. He goes, I want them all dead. And then they're like, thanks. They're like, see you later. He's like, I'll see you in hell. He tells everybody, I'll see you in hell. It's like,
that's his farewell.
I don't think you should tell. Yeah. Well, sometimes he says it angrily, and the other time it's just kind of like his departing, like sentiment. Yeah. From that point on, basically the entire movie is a bloodbath, because they go to me it looked like almost like a ranch house or something, but then they cut back and it looks almost like it could be. It looks like it could be on a ranch, and it looks like it could be in like the city.
Yeah, it's just the weirdest locations, man. You're going to the main bad guy's house, which you saw earlier, which was kind of a nice 2-story kind of thing inside. But you see these guys, and it just looks like an old rundown chicken farm or something. It's just the weirdest locations.
As soon as they get in there too, they're confronted by I keep forgetting his name, Fujiyama, and he has taken Samurai Cop's girlfriend hostage. And it's kind of a weird scene, because the whole thing is shot through like an erotic piece of art that's there.
Right.
There's like a black sculpture with like a naked woman leaning backwards, and I think they almost went for an artsy, like they really thought they were doing something pretty like cutting edge, because the whole scene is shot through that art. And it's pretty funny, because there's just some great things, like Samurai Cop has his gun up, Frank comes down the stairs and he's got his gun on him, and so they end up doing what Fujiyama says, and of course he's not a man of his word, so first thing he does is shoot Frank, and they end up taking out Fujiyama with barely any kind of effort at all, really.
Right, it was pretty, I mean, for the main bad guy, he was not very bad, and that's kind of the problem with this whole gang, man, is, I mean, you've got bad guys out here that have an Uzi, and they can't hit a guy that's hiding behind one small tree. I mean, you could cut the tree in half with this gun, and you can't hit a guy, and then they turn around with their pistol and bang, got the guy. And I'm also blown away that this is a Japanese gang, and there's only 2 Japanese people in the whole gang.
Yeah, there's definitely no Yakuza or anything like that.
The Katana gang.
I love that when Frank gets shot by Fujiyama, he gets shot and he exclaims in horror and he shrieks like he's dead, and then he gets up and he shoots Fujiyama, and as soon as he gets up, I had one thing he didn't have: bulletproof vest.
Right.
But the way he shrieked was like you would think he was just shot like in the femoral artery or something.
And talk about continuity with this movie, man. When Yamashita, which is big guy, when he shows up to fight in the big fight at the end, what is he in? A Suzuki Samurai.
Is he? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I was like, you have got to be kidding me, man.
I can see Joe Marshall, Samurai Cop, walking by, being like, "Oh, he got his name put on the car."
I mean, you can take the biggest guy that's in the movie. The dude's almost 7 foot tall, and you put him in a Suzuki Samurai.
I really love this last fight scene between them two, the sword fight. The fact that when it first starts off, they're a good, like half or block and a half away from each other when they do the wide shot, and they're just slowly creeping toward each other with swords. But this scene's great because it goes on for so long, and the whole time it goes on, if you look at both guys' hair, you can just tell like so much has changed. Besides, obviously one guy doesn't have hair anymore and he's wearing a share wig, and the other guy is just, I think they just made his really messy so no one would be able to notice that it's maybe a little bit shorter than before. But it's great because it goes on forever and ever, and to me it was pretty anticlimactic, as far as a movie called Samurai Cop can go,
right?
Because you expect Samurai Cop to take him out, but I guess Frank convinces Joe at the last minute. He's like, "Oh, we're cops still," disregarding what the captain said. Just kill everybody. It's like they're like, "Well, he's a samurai. He must die with honor." And I'm thinking, he's done nothing with honor in this entire movie.
He's the most unsamurai person in the whole movie.
Oh, but it wouldn't be a Samurai Cop movie without another shot of them on the beach in their matching bikini bottoms.
Yep, and everybody lived happily ever after. I mean, again, folks, you have to see it. You have to see this movie. We can't do it justice. There's no way. But as crazy as the story is, this thing is just bonkers, man. Every line, every shot, there's just something wrong every time. and it's just beautiful.
Well, I really like the fact that they went out of their way. I mean, because I know Frank put in a good word for Joe, but they went out of their way to find, a cop that also had mastered, Japanese samurai skills and things to pull in from another precinct.
Sure.
It's just, it's so funny to me.
Fluent Japanese, man.
I'm glad they told us that, too, because those scenes with all the subtitles. Could you imagine that actor trying to speak in Japanese?
Oh, man, it'd been terrible. Well, I mean, he tried. Remember, he says, Omaha, Yamaha, whatever the name was. It's terrible. Terrible. It's so much fun.
As far as this movie goes, in general, we talked about some segments and stuff, some things that we could use for these movies, and you had a segment called Under My Wheels, which basically is songs that would fit these movies pretty well. Anytime there was like a buddy cop scene, I just thought Ebony and Ivory every time. Did you do any top 5 whys?
I didn't do anything.
Okay, I guess whys. Why are samurais so shooty? There's a lot of gunfights and things in this movie, and a lot less samuraiing going on.
Oh, man, yeah. I mean, why do you have guys that are supposed to be thugs that are drug dealers dressed like they're just on a Bahama trip and just wearing white tennis shoes and just hanging out? I mean, I guess if you don't want to look like a gangster, I guess that's the way to go.
Well, that's actually my next thing is why are new wave bands doing shady things in the harbor?
But one thing you can take away from this movie is if you drive a 1985 van at about 15 miles per hour into a brick wall or a rock side of a cliff or whatever, it's going to explode. And you're going to run around.
You better have a stuntman in there.
Yeah, he's going to run around on fire. That's just going to happen.
Also, I was like, why does Samurai Cop wear the same bikini bottom as his love interest? As soon as you see her walk out, and you're like, oh, that's kind of nice. Oh my God, what's he wearing?
The fight scene that's in the bar part of the restaurant. Why did that even happen? Where they chase the guy out and he chases him down the road and you see the guy actually trip. I mean, you can tell it's a real trip and he falls down and he's hurt for real.
First he goes down the stairs and then he trips all the way through the parking lot. One thing that I thought was funny because it happened twice in the movie, but it most notably happened at the restaurant scene when Samurai Cop threatens all of them. And I said, why does Robert Z'Dar get his own fourth wall breaking music? Because he stands up real fast and it's like, dum, as soon as it hits his face. It was like something out of, it was so perfectly placed that, it just was great.
Why do you take the biggest person in the movie that's a huge guy and constantly put him in situations where he will not fit, either in a trash can or in a Suzuki Samurai? It's almost like it was an ongoing joke.
They were like, we were gonna get Jaleel White to do this role, but he turned us down. So Robert Z'Dar, can you do this? we assumed Urkel could fit anywhere we put him.
And how does Z'Dar know so much about Samurai Cop? Did he Google him, or where this
that was a lot of exposition.
Man, he knew everything.
A lot of exposition. Oh, and he had a genuine, like you could just tell he had a genuine hatred for Samurai Cop.
Oh yeah.
Like the whole movie, Robert Z'Dar is a pretty decent actor in the sense that he does emote pretty well.
Hey, Maniac Cop, man.
I love those movies.
Yeah.
And he's in other stuff I love. They're not good movies, but I love them. Like Soul Taker and things like that.
Ooh.
Yeah. But we talked about a segment called Movie Upgrade, things that could possibly make a movie better.
Man.
Did you get anything in this one?
A new script.
A script in general?
Some better dialogue. You need, like you said, a spin-off of that waiter. He needs his own show.
He could have been like one of those quirky sitcom characters back in the 90s.
Yeah. So
I don't know if he could, do that little like a Snagglepuss or Huckleberry Hound voice the whole time, but it was still pretty interesting. I was gonna say I wish the movie had less real hair and more wigs.
Ooh, yeah.
Just they were so absurd. Like I wish at the end they would have just put a big wig on Frank.
That would have been awesome. The movie would have been better if it had all 4 hubcaps.
I don't know. I need to go back and watch because I noticed the flat tire, but I did not notice the hubcap switching between scenes.
Non-stop, and I'm talking like edited scenes one back to the other, and it constantly moves. I mean, it was just going down the road. It just jumps from one side of the car to the other. It's crazy.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I wrote down at the very beginning of this movie that this movie would be much better. It'd be an upgrade if it had 64-bit graphics to go with the soundtrack.
Yes. Yeah.
I could just see a 64-bit Frank cheesing it up for the camera.
That's what we need to do, man. We need to release Samurai Cop the game.
You know, sadly, I'll bet you there's a huge market for that.
What would make this movie better?
I don't know about sadly, but man, have you ever played the Manos: The Hands of Fate game?
No, I have not.
It's pretty fun. You can actually, I don't think it costs anything. It's on a lot of like the iTunes and the Google Play Store. But the last thing I have that I thought would make this movie a lot better is Tommy Wiseau. And what's that you say? Tommy Wiseau is one of the main villains in the sequel to Samurai Cop? Sounds like they're going to improve upon their formula.
Oh, man. So, yeah, like I said, I've yet to see the sequel, so I'll have to definitely check that out.
There was one more segment. It was good lessons from bad movies.
Yeah, I learned to never join a Japanese cantata gang.
Yeah, well, you'd fit in because you'd be just as unique as everybody else. There was no consistency between henchmen or villains. What I put was maybe not have a ton of boiling oil on your stove ever.
Yeah, that's not a good idea either.
Just a ton, especially if you know you might be someone who's a potential target.
And I learned that I should never let anybody take away my black gift.
Oh man, I'm just gonna start referring to it as my black gift. I also did learn something in this that it's not as much as something that it's not really a good lesson from a bad movie, but it's a really bad joke from a bad movie. Because I learned what an undercover cop is. They go under things. There's a scene in this movie where Samurai Cop takes all this time to jump this massive gate, and Frank just slides real slowly underneath the bottom of it. And he said, "Why don't you go over?" Because I'm an undercover cop. This movie, this is a gem of this kind of movie.
Yeah, it's bad on every level, but it's a good kind of bad. This is one that you can get together with friends and just laugh and laugh. And it's a shame because I know that they were trying to make an actual action-type movie. It just didn't happen.
You know, but I also do I do give them props for. It felt like there was a lot of heart in this movie, even though they didn't really execute something like that as well as they could have.
Right.
I feel like every time Frank was on screen, I felt like he just really wanted to be there and just cheese it up, ham it up on camera.
Yeah, it's even like you said, going back to just his facial expressions and where they put him in the scenes. It's hard to even know what this director was thinking, or if he was thinking at all. It is just one hot mess, man.
I think eventually we're going to get to his other movies on the show. I don't think there's any way he went on to do anything Oscar worthy or anything.
Well, now that you said that, I'm very curious to what those are like. So we'll have to dig them up.
One scene with Frank in this movie that I wish you would have grabbed the audio for. I didn't even think about it, but it's the scene where he convinces the chief to let Samurai Cop stay, and then right as they're leaving the office, the chief is finally kind of calmed down. Frank kisses him on the forehead, and the chief just barrels out all these expletives at him.
Let me see if I've actually got it.
What do you say, huh, Cap? I feel like somebody stuck a big club up my ass, and it hurts. I've got to figure out a way to get it out of there. God damn it, get the hell out of my office. Get out of here. I don't want to see your face.
Use it later for...
You son of a bitch. Come back here, you motherfucker.
That's it. That's the one. Oh, I love it. I love how unhinged that captain is. He's the best gift from this movie.
Yeah. Like I said, possibly the best actor in the movie. I mean, even as off the hinges as he is, it's probably the most entertaining performance that there is.
Oh, it's great. And I don't know. Where would you set this movie on the bus?
All right, I'm gonna say it's second row from the back. I can't put it all the way in the back of the bus. It's got to come one seat up. So it's not worthy of being on the very, very back of the bus because I actually enjoy watching this movie.
Yeah, like it wasn't so bad that you just, the whole time you're waiting for it to be over with.
Right.
I think on the bus, I mean, I'd probably set it a little bit higher than that. Maybe halfway up on the bus.
Well, that's pretty good.
It's a short bus, so it's not in a lot of rows.
There's 5 seats?
Yeah. So I think this movie, just for entertainment value alone, but I do see that it is not a good movie on every possible aspect of it.
Right.
But I would recommend it to everyone.
Right. Oh, yeah. I that's one of the first things I do is you guys have to see this movie. You get some strange looks even when it starts off, especially with the music and everything, and it just all goes downhill from there.
I love it. Well, we'll go ahead and take a quick break, so stay tuned.
Get out of the way!
Looking for something different in your podcast library? Then why not check out the podcast Under the Stairs? I'm the host, Duncan McLeish, and joining me each week will be a special guest as we examine some classic, old-school horror favourites, as well as some modern classics. That's not to say that we don't tackle some of the, let's say, more questionable entries into the horror genre. And if all that wasn't enough, we have a subset of shows called Baz v Horror, where our horror novice, the Baz, tackles horror in all shapes and forms to see who will come out victorious. So what are you waiting for? The show can be found at podcastunderthestairs.wordpress.com and on Stitcher and iTunes. The Podcast Under the Stairs is a proud member of Legion Podcast Network. This is Duncan McLeish from Under the Stairs, signing off.
All right, so that was Samurai Cop from '91. A lot of fun to talk, a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Talk about. When we started doing these movies, there was we had a short list at first of things to choose from, and then it grew exponentially large. So, but this was definitely one of those movies that it was like, we need to talk about this.
Yeah, without a doubt. It just seemed like if we were trying to come across what kind of show we're going to do, this just really nailed it on the head as far as, this kind of hits everything we want to put out there of what kind of movies we're talking about. It's fun, it's bad, it's cheesy, it's terrible, entertaining, and a whole lot of fun to talk about.
So yeah, I had a lot of fun on this first episode. It's always kind of shaky getting your first your pilot episode out for a podcast, but I think it was pretty fun, man. I had a good time.
Absolutely. And you folks out there, if you have ideas of stuff you want us to cover, we've got a Gmail account. You can send it to shortbuscinema@gmail.com or just hit us up on Facebook. We also got a Facebook account. Look us up, like us, hang out with us, man. And we're open to whatever. I mean, we've got some ideas put back in our pocket of what we want to get done, but hey, if you're not listening, then what's the point of the show? So you guys just tell us what you want.
Join the Facebook group and or like the Facebook page, and make sure that you definitely send in your bad movies that you think we should watch. I mean, maybe something really obscure, but I want to see the worst of the worst, man.
Oh yeah. We want to see how far down the spiral we can go.
So yeah, definitely. I would look forward to hearing from everybody. All right, that's it for this episode of Short Bus Cinema. Next time we will be back with Ninja 3: The Domination.
That's right. See you later, folks.
Peace.